What's up everyone? Welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to talk about how to edit your navigation data on a Humminbird unit. So in today's video we're going to basically break down the different things that you can do with your waypoints, your tracks, and groups, and certain things like that, and editing the color of everything, the icons for the waypoints, and even like the line type for the tracks. So we're going to kind of break down everything. We're going to talk about the helix, we're going to talk about the solix, and we're going to talk about the differences, and basically show you guys how to edit your navigation data in order to have a better idea and be better organized whenever you get back on the water. You want to know which waypoint is which and which track shows which, and you don't want to be confused the next time you are looking for that waypoint. We're going to kind of talk about the different colors that you can select, the icons, and all that stuff. So starting out, the helix and the solix are a little bit different. You could take a look at my comparison video that I have up already, but today we're mostly going to just focus on how to edit waypoints, how to edit tracks, and things like that. So the first thing you'll notice is that on my helix, all these icons are yellow like this whenever I'm zoomed out. And the reason for that is they're all shared from my solix. So I'm not going to be able to actually edit any of those from this unit. If I had actual waypoints on this unit, I'd be able to edit the icons and do any of that stuff. But since they're all being shared from the solix, I can't edit them on here. I can edit them on my solix, but I can't edit them on here. So starting out, let's kind of zoom in and take a look at this. So what you're going to see on my helix is a icon here where there is a waypoint. And if I click menu and then press over to the right one time, if I had this waypoint on my graph, it would say edit, delete, and it would have a lot more options. Whereas since it's coming from my solix, I don't have those options to edit it. So that's just something to know. Like if you have all your waypoints on your helix, you're going to have more options here because this won't be being shared from the other unit. And as far as sharing, if you come all the way over here to network and go down and make sure this share waypoints is on. If you don't have that on, it's not going to share those waypoints. But let's kind of talk about a few of the things that you can do with a helix and your navigation data. So I'm going to go to menu twice. And when I go to menu twice, there's all these tabs at the top. And I'm going to go all the way over to this navigation tab. And you can go to all these different options based on what you're wanting. But let's say we want to get to all of our waypoints, routes, and tracks. And like I said earlier, these are all coming from my solix unit, but they'll all show up on the screen. So I can go over here and select options and go to new or select multiple. So it'll let you select a bunch of these if you want, or search, or you can select all of them and then you can delete or export or show or hide. You can also go up here to sort by, and it'll sort all these waypoints by either A to Z, Z to A, the newest waypoints that you got, or the oldest, or the distance that your boat is currently from those waypoints, or it'll even sort them by icons. So that's a cool little feature that you can find a certain waypoint if you're looking for it through that. But let's put that back to A to Z. And then another thing that you can do with your tracks is you can save your current track by pressing menu once when you're on the chart screen. You can save current track by pressing over to the right, or you can clear your current track by pressing over to the right when you're on this clear current track. So for example, a lot of times I make tracks whenever I go to the Ohio River or places where it's a little bit more treacherous to kind of navigate in and out of these creeks, or there's be standing timber or anything like that. So a lot of times what I'll do is right before I get into that creek, right when I want to start the track, essentially, I'll clear my current track, and that's going to get rid of everything that you have. It's not going to get rid of your saved tracks, but basically everything that you've been fishing so far that day, if you haven't saved it, will just disappear. So if you want that data beforehand, what you're going to want to do is save your current track, and it'll save all of your stuff up to that point. So then it'll start a new track, and that's what we're going to record in order to try and get into this creek without hitting anything. So for example, I'll start out here, and I'll either clear my current track if I don't want that track, or I will save my current track to save what I have so far, and it'll start a new track. But without starting that new track, you don't have a specific start and end point. So what I'll do is out here at the mouth, I'll start a new track, and I'll come in here, and when I get to wherever I want, you'll see here I have like a skeleton, and that's basically a hazard that I found. I don't know if it was a log or what it was, but when I'm coming back through this creek, I know there's something there and I can come back. Even if it's 10 years later, I can basically know that there's a hazard there, and I'll slow my boat down or watch out for it or whatever. But so I will start my track here, go as far as I want to, and then I will come here and click Save Current Track. Press over to the right to save the current track. All that will be saved, and it'll have a start and an end point. Well, if I want to edit that current track, what I can do is I can go up to this, and I will find, I don't have any tracks on here, but let's say there would be a track here, and I could come over here and I would be able to edit it, and I'd be able to change the color, and it would kind of look something sort of like this. So if I go to current track and I go down to appearance, I can turn the visibility on and off, but I can also change the style of the line. I can have a thicker line, thinner line, a dashed line, a dotted line. And I like the thicker line because it shows up a little bit better. But then you can also change all the colors. And I like to pick colors that are a little bit opposite of, say, the Lake Master colors. So this red color on this shallower water will show up as red, and it's not going to pop as well. So honestly, I like to pick something that's other than like a blue, green, or red. So the purple's good, the black's good, the yellow's good, any of those that kind of show up a little bit better. And then I'll click save. And so now, whenever I come into this creek, it's going to have a bright purple line that's going to go wherever I need to be, and it's going to basically kind of map my way through that creek. If I hit something, then I can map it on the way out, and if I like that second route the better, then I can delete the first route. And I always have a route for the creeks that I want to go into. That way I know where I can idle, where I can run, and where I don't want to hit anything. So obviously, since I don't have any tracks or waypoints on this graph, and they're all coming from my Solix, it doesn't really show you exactly what you need, but basically you're going to have more options here where it'll say edit. And when you go to edit, you'll be able to change your icons. So for example, with the waypoints, your waypoints will have all these icons, and you'll be able to change to whatever you want. You could change it to a turkey, a bass, a person swimming in the water, a stump. There's so many options with the Helix that you could change any of these options and save them the way it is. So I like to, whenever I'm fishing, I honestly like to go to this new waypoint, and instead of default, if you have it as default, it's going to save it as this blue circle or whatever you have this this default waypoint icon on. So I like to put it on select, and by having it on select, what that's going to do is it's essentially going to pull up this waypoint screen, and it's going to allow you to set whichever icon you want. So it's going to take a little bit more time for you to go through and pick the icon that you want. So let's say this pops up and you want to put it as a bass. Then you would press down and click save. So it's almost the same menu screen, but it doesn't have this one line here. We'll set this back. But I leave that as select, and then it allows me to customize each waypoint on the water, and I don't have to go back and try to figure out and decipher what that waypoint actually was, rather than just being a blue circle. So that's kind of what I do with my waypoints and my tracks on my Helix. What I do on my Solix is you'll be able to see a little bit more because I have waypoints and tracks on here. But basically, you could see here is a start and an end point like I was talking. So as I go into the creek, I started here and going in the creek, and then I stopped my track here. I probably should have done it farther in, but I just stopped it there because I wanted to make sure I didn't forget to save it, to be honest. And so then on the way out, I made another one. This is called Poison Creek, so that's why it's poison in and poison out. So poison out is the second one that I made, and that was me just idling out. And I left both of them. They're pretty similar, but you could see maybe on the way out I kind of went a little wider around some of the corners. Maybe I found something on the way in, or I got a little too shallow and I wanted to go a different way out, and so I kind of modify it that way. And if I get a really good one, I might change the colors. And in order to change the colors, basically you'll come here and click poison out, and then it'll allow you to change the style, the name, the color, or you can delete the track. So let's say that on the way out it was a lot better than on the way in. I can either delete the poison in, or I can come here and I can say I want that one to be purple. And so now you can see on the way out that I followed this track. So that could be really helpful if you set your tracks, because it'll help you navigate through some areas that are really shallow, and you'll avoid some of the silted in areas so that you don't get stuck on really shallow spots. And it honestly, it's time saving. You don't really think about it, but like, if I was to come back to this creek 5-10 years later and I haven't been, it's obviously going to change a little bit, but I have a track that I can follow initially, and if I don't like it, then I can modify it accordingly. It gives me something to go off of if I ever come back years down the road. Now, so for waypoints, you'll see that same waypoint that I was showing earlier with the skeleton skull is over here. And since it's actually on my Solix graph, I can actually edit it over here. So I could say I want this to be a fish. And then I can also change the color of it to green. So now you'll see that I have that icon as a green fish, and you'll come over here and it changed on the Helix to a fish. Now you can't change the color on the Helix, but you could change the icon. So if I change this to a tent, it'll change to a tent. But yeah, so let's change that back to a skeleton, and let's change it to black. There. So those are just a few things on how to change the colors of the tracks and the waypoints on the Solix. Like I said earlier, you'll be able to do that with the Helix, but since I have all of my waypoints and tracks on my Solix, that's not going to let me do that on the Helix right now. If I would press this home button on my Solix, it'll pull up all my settings and stuff, but let's go to NAV data since that's what we're talking about. If I go to waypoints, it'll show all of my waypoints. I actually have a lot of these grouped by lake. So if you go down to groups, it'll pop up all the different groups, and I can turn the visibility of these off. So like, let's say I'm not on Kentucky Lake, I can turn the visibility off, and then I can go back, turn off the visibility for Dale Hollow, and I could turn the visibility off for a lot of these lakes. I don't know if it actually helps a ton, but in my opinion, I feel like if you turn the visibility off on a lot of these groups and just do the lake that you're on, it will help the graph move a little bit faster. But I don't know if that's true or not. In my head, it makes sense, but yeah. So I like to turn the visibility off for each lake, but the only thing is when you get to the next lake, if you forget to turn the visibility on, you won't have any waypoints. And I've had a couple times where I'm like, what the heck is going on? Where'd my waypoints go? And it's just visibility turned off. Also on this nav data page, you have all your tracks. If you go to tracks, you'll be able to see all the tracks that I have. Here is the poison one that I just did. So if I press and hold that, it'll allow me to edit that. If I go to info, and then I can turn that back. Let's say I want that to be yellow. And I can also turn my visibility off on each track, each waypoint, and stuff like that. But if you start doing that, then things get kind of complicated. You can also delete the waypoint, filter by group, export, or export all the tracks. But as you can see, it changed it to a yellow trail. Let's say I want to turn this, press and hold, big bone. We're going to turn that to a yellow one also. Press the back button. So now you'll see that that is a yellow track, and it'll actually have this little window down here where it shows where that's at. Same thing with waypoints. If you go to your waypoints, you press and hold here and go to info, you can change all of your waypoint information right there. During that info, you can check, or you can basically edit where the location is. So you can either put this group as My Data or Dale Hollow or Kentucky Lake, or you can create a new group and make it whatever lake you want. But that's on, that waypoint's on Dale Hollow, so we'll go back and we'll leave it on Dale Hollow. But that's how you can add a item to a group. But as far as like waypoint and track settings, you can go to waypoints. On the Solix, you have 3 different mark modes. You have mark favorites, quick mark, and mark and edit. And quick mark is just like the default mark on the Helix. It's going to basically make it a waypoint that you already have predetermined, and you can't edit it until you can go back onto the chart and just edit it manually. But it's going to basically, when you press mark, it's going to make a blue circle or whatever you have it set at, and it's going to get back to your screen and get you back to your side scanning or whatever you're doing quicker. The mark plus edit is basically going to be what this Helix is doing now. It's going to pop up a screen where you can edit the waypoint and basically pick whichever you want from the entire list of waypoints. The mark favorites is what I usually use, and what that does is it will, if I get out of here, what that does is when I press the mark button and I click waypoint, it's going to have my 5 favorite icons and my 5 favorite colors. And that's really nice, because if I want a rock pile and my rock piles that I normally mark are red, I'll just mark that and that rock pile is created. If I want to go back and edit more stuff, I can click on that, but I don't want that there, so I'm going to just delete it. But that's really, in my opinion, the best way to mark your waypoints. So I have it as mark favorites. So if you look here at favorite settings, you'll see that these are my 5 icons and those are my 5 colors. If I want to, I can come in here and I can pick whichever 5 icons that I like the best and whichever 5 colors that I like the best. So it gives you a lot of options to edit however you want. You can also do change the lake that you want to put it in, basically change the group that you want to put it in. So that's kind of handy. If you do that before you get started, all of those waypoints will go to that lake. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's usually what I do, is I put it as marked favorites. If you want to set the quick mark settings, basically what it's going to do whenever I have it on quick mark is it's going to make a yellow flag. And it's going to do that every time. It's not going to ask me what I want the waypoint to look like. It'll just be like that. And the share waypoints is right here. It's the same thing as the share waypoints on the Helix, except on the Solix. So other than that, that's pretty much everything you need to know about how to edit the waypoints, the tracks, how to set a track, how to start it, how I stop it, all those little intricacies that will help you be more efficient on the water and help you find more fish and help you navigate through some of the creeks and some of the new fisheries that you may encounter. So hopefully this video was helpful. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.